Now, it was a great joy to arrive here in Japan for my fifth tour. I must say it's a little bit melancholic to leave now because being very far away from home, every time I come to Japan, I feel at home. And my only hope and great hope is to say that I hope to come again soon. Not for too long, because memories of my Japanese tours and of my Japanese friends remain very vivid in my memories, But I shall never forget his first invitation, which gave me the great pleasure and the great privilege to play and to know Japanese audiences. Konbanwa. I am extremely happy to be here again for the fifth time in Japan since 1954, and for the second consecutive time to present the second cycle of the Bach unaccompanied suites for the Japanese audiences. And I have such a respect for these works by Jean-Sébastien Bach for unaccompanied cello that nearly I would like very much to play always in front of silent audiences, with no applause. But, I appreciate very much the welcome and the silence with which the Japanese audience in these two concerts were listening to this wonderful music. And, it's very interesting to know, probably you know, that Robert Schumann wrote a piano accompaniment for these Bach Cello Suites. It was published in the 19th century, but it's impossible to find it now. And I should be very interested to know, with the genius of Robert Schumann, what he did, And it's to show you that perhaps at that time those Bach Cello Suites were more considered as exercise, And perhaps it was at the suggestion of some cellists at that time that Robert Schumann wanted to write an accompaniment. But I'm sure it must be very interesting, and unfortunately it's completely out of print, but it's registered that Robert Schumann wrote an accompaniment for this suite. And if I succeed to find those accompaniments by Robert Schumann, it would be extremely interesting, and perhaps also here in Japan and everywhere in the world, just to make a confrontation of the two versions, the original one and with the accompaniment, But to my opinion, those solo suites are so marvelously written that, they have to be with unaccompanied cello. And now speaking about the number 3, which is perhaps the best known from the public, because I think every cellist in the world like to play this because it is very well known. But it's a marvelous piece also, more brilliant than the second one, and perhaps not so profound. But of course it has perhaps a better impact for the public, because it's extremely brilliant. What is marvelous in this series of 6 suites of Bach? It's their completely different character from each other. And it's why, I'm never afraid to put in succession these 3 in a succession for one concert, because I think it's fascinating for the public to hear the different character of every of these suites. And when I give this cyclus of Bach, I try to present the numbers for number 1, number 3, and number 5, because if I should make in succession 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it would be wrong, because the 3 last ones are longer. So I think for the question of balance, it's always better to mix up, and to play 1, 3, 4. 1, 3, 5, and the second concert 2, 4, 6. And by opposition to the third suite, the number 4 is extremely somber, you know, and grandiose, if you can understand what I mean, because this, notably this prelude, has such a beautiful exploitation of the cello range of sound, you know. And of course, it's a long prelude, but which has a great noblesse, and that's the main characteristic of this suite, the noblesse. And those Bach solo suites for cello were completely unknown until the beginning of the 19th century, you know. And it's I think it's Felix von Mendelssohn who urged the cellist to look at the Bach solo suites in the 19th century. And since then, there have been dozens of different editions, you know. And but unfortunately, most of the editions of the 19th century are the reflection of the limited technique of the cello of that time, you know. And you know, it's my great ambition, you know, to give to young cellists, you know, the result of my experience. It's why my own edition of the Bach solo suite is going to be published now. And the second one, in D minor, has a more restrained character, you know, and more dramatic aspect, you know, in all this suite, you know, in D minor. Now we approach the number 6, and it's very interesting that it was written originally by Jean Bach for viola pomposa. It was, you know, at the time of Johann Sebastian Bach, a very big viola, you know, and I suppose it was played like the viola, modern viola now, but it was on a big size, you know, and it had 5 strings, you know, and it's why this Bach suite number 6 requires a very big effort for producing the sound, you know, on high register of the cello, because playing this suite of 4 strings, you know, it's extremely difficult, you know. But it's a marvelous suite, and when Jean Sebastian Bach, published, you know, the series of these suites for cello, he included this number 6 for cello. And I will say that it's a great pity that there are no original manuscripts of this Bach solo suite. You know, the only manuscripts we have, which to be found, you know, is by his wife, Anna Magdalena Bach. And of course, this manuscript is quite fidel, you know, to the text, you know, but we can notice from time to time slight mistakes, you know, but it's a beautiful handwriting, you know, and it is the only manuscript. There are also 2 other manuscripts, you know, from different pupils of Jean Sebastian Bach, but I forgot now their names, you know, but they are to be found in the city of Marburg in Germany. But of course, they are not so fidel as the manuscript, and they show a different interpretation, you know, and especially in the way of bowing, you know, and there is no fingerings at all. But we cannot rely on this manuscript, you know, because the bowing are extremely superficial, you know, and we have to have a long experience, you know, of practicing and playing this suite in front of the public to have a final approach for bowings, you know, and fingerings.